Before we get started, I want to give huge shout outs to community partners Epilepsy Foundation of America and the Danny Did Foundation. Also, big thanks to Neurelis and SK Life Science. Thanks so much, y'all, for believing in this podcast and making conversations like this possible. Okay, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to What the F. I am so excited about this very impressive guest we have today. His name is Tommy Mitchell. He is at the University of South Carolina with an IT major, no big deal, a former D1 swimmer, and hails from South Jersey. Tommy, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you so much for joining me, Landis. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, I am just so inspired by your story and so intrigued, especially because swimming and epilepsy always have a very tentative, odd relationship. And you're here, as someone who does it. And so, but before we even dive into all that, and that was an unintentional pun, but I love it. Tell me, when did the love for swimming start in your life, or how long have you been swimming?
I've probably been swimming. I learned to swim around 3 years old or so, and I've been competitively swimming since 8. I grew up around the pool where I swam at over the summer, so kind of always loved the water. My mom was a swimmer.
Oh, that's so cool. So you could just walk over to the pool?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah,
that is very cool. As a kid, having a pool right near you, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And what strokes do you compete? What are your strokes?
So I'm a distance freestyler. I did the 200, which is 8 laps, 500, which is 20 laps, the 1,000, which is 40 laps.
What?
And then at SECs, I did the mile, which is 66 laps.
A mile? What? Okay. Wow. A whole new level of respect. You have to understand too, I'm so bad at swimming. I will do freestyle and it looks like I am drowning. It looks like I am flailing. And I just I've always admired the sport. It's just never been my jam. But so I'm very impressed when, someone's yeah, I go swimming and that's my thing. But then a mile? Dear sweet Moses, that's amazing. Okay, so you've had this, swimming almost in your blood. You said your mom, is a swimmer. And what, and I'm just going to give a little context for our audience. So you've accepted an offer at USC to swim there. And then senior year of high school, what fun thing comes into the picture?
So it was around maybe 2 days before Christmas. I woke up in the morning and I was just screaming in pain. And my parents come rushing into the room and they're like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And they're asking me these questions. And apparently I don't remember anything. I think it was still the post-ictal phase that I was in.
Yeah.
And my shoulder was dislocated.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we rushed to the ER, popped it back into place, was in a sling.
I'm sorry. You act like that's no big deal. We just popped it back into place. I've watched The Pit. That looks intense. So, poor thing. Okay, sorry to interrupt your story.
No, you're good. You're good. So, my younger sister has epilepsy, and my mom was like, maybe we should get this checked out. So we went to a neurologist in Philly and did the little 30-minute EEG. They're flashing the lights in my face and stuff like that. And we're on the ride home and I get a call. Well, it was a voicemail actually. We missed the call. She was like, yeah, so we picked up 2 absent seizures within those 30 minutes. So
oh wow.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So if you could come back the next day, we'll get your medications all figured out.
Sorry. Oh wow, what a weird voicemail.
Yeah.
So was there anything? So did you know you had epilepsy at that point, or what did that mean? 2 absent seizures and woke up with a dislocated shoulder. Was there any sort of diagnosis after that?
Yeah, they diagnosed me with juvenile myoclonic epilepsy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did it ever cross your mind like, oh shit, now I can't swim, in college?
That was my biggest fear because the the one thing that literally everybody tells you is you can't go in the water, or at least like by yourself. So I mean,
Yeah.
I was freaking out. And also, keep in mind this was still in the sling and everything, so this was something. This was definitely a life changing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so you're like, I can't go in the water right now anyway. Um, but you went forward and you decided to go ahead and swim at USC. And what was that like? Like, where did you notice any changes, like just adding medications or just like kind of were you afraid?
I mean, I feel like there was always this fear that my shoulder was gonna pop back out again. Like they said, the only time it would happen is like during a seizure. But I mean, since it was so recent, like I was still like it's always kind of been it was like in the back of my head, I would say. So, um, got down there. Things are like going good. I guess around like October or so, something is off with like I just don't feel right. Like something is off with my medications. So
Mm-hmm.
we had to get that all figured out, and then from there it was just kind of like a back and forth, like switching different levels and switching medications and everything. And it seemed like I don't know. It seemed like that we were at a pretty good point for a little while, but you know, you can't stay at that good point forever. So
So I can only imagine like starting college, starting, on a new swim team, and then starting all these fun anti-seizure medications and trying to figure it out. That's a lot
yeah,
to put on someone's plate. You're like, yeah, no shit, I did it. So like, were you still able to get that joy, or was it just kind of sort of like one was clouding the other?
I feel like at first I was just super anxious about literally anything, like
Yeah.
school in the water, because I mean it probably so it happened in December. I went to school in August, and there's probably and I was training over the summer to get ready for swimming at college. So there was literally like no time to process any of what just happened. So
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
yeah,
Total. Okay, yeah, that's huge.
in the beginning of like the swim career, I definitely felt anxious being in the water. But I feel like as time went on, I kind of started to, I guess, like push that thought in the back of my head. So I'm not, like thinking about it. Like I enjoy swimming and everything.
Okay, so you're swimming freshman year, first year of school. You get through that, and then you went back sophomore year, right? And kept going.
Yeah, yeah. I kept
That's
going.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so I'm swimming. Made it through the whole season. Qualified for our SEC championship. Swam for our team.
Congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did pretty well. And then I guess it was March 23rd of 2024. I took a nap and woke up 50 minutes later screaming in pain again. And yeah,
Mm.
that was definitely something. My
And so, was that your second seizure
that was my second
and your
seizure.
second dislocated shoulder? Wow,
Same
the
shoulder too.
gift that
Yeah.
just keeps
Oh
giving.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah,
Wow. Oh my
yeah.
God.
Well, luckily my roommates were there because like I was like
Yeah.
screaming for their names because I'm just like in so much pain. Like it's crazy. So hopped in an ambulance, went to the ER, put knocked me out, popped the shoulder back in. I'm in a sling again, and
God.
yeah, and
You
actually
poor
we
thing.
yeah,
Your poor shoulder. Is it the same
it
shoulder?
was the same shoulder. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Isn't that weird?
That is weird.
This
It's
time it
like,
was I think anterior because it was posterior the first time and then anterior the second time. So we're just
okay.
kind of going back and forth, I guess.
Yeah. Epilepsy's trying to switch it up a little, but stay consistent. They're like, keep you guessing. But okay, so now you have a second dislocated shoulder, a second tonic-clonic seizure,
Yep.
and what happens from there?
Well, so they put me in the sling, got the MRI and everything. Um, waiting on the results for that. My mom like rushed down, flew from the Philly airport to Columbia where I was, which I kind of really needed that. So you know
Yeah.
we called the like emergency hotline for the neurologist. And like, oh, you can bump up this medication. And so I just kind of felt like out of whack for the rest of the semester.
With the medication increase.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that, like that out of whack sort of feeling. What did it feel like for you? Because I think there's like everyone has their own experience with it, and I'm just curious as to like how you would describe like that time period.
Like I don't really know how to explain it. It's just like something doesn't feel right. Like I don't feel normal. I don't really know what's going on, but something just does not feel right.
Yeah, totally. It's just feeling off. And like I feel like for me anyway, when like I'm switching medications or trying things up, I try to I don't always notice it right away. And it takes me like a month or two to even be like, wait a second, this isn't normal. This isn't right. Like the last medication I tried, I just became incredibly apathetic, where like I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy. I was just like, whatever, like usually in the spring in Chicago, I get so excited when tulips come or when we've got leaves on trees. And like last year, I didn't even remember it happening. And then once I started decreasing the medication, I was like, when the fuck did all this show up? Like, it was like, and that's when I started to realize I was like, oh, I've just become, I don't know what. I don't know exactly, like you said, I'm not sure exactly how to describe it other than like just not myself.
And it's usually not even me noticing something's off. Like it's my friends will be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think so." And they're like, "You're not." that's that's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. Those are good friends. First to ask you, and second of all to be like real with you and be like, mm like something's up. Yeah, that's important. So, okay, so were you able to titrate off that medication then that made you feel weird?
I was, yeah,
Okay.
which was really good. And then they bumped up the dose on another one, so kind of weaned off of one medication, upped on the other one, and then it was doing pretty well. Over the summer I was doing PT for my shoulder because I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well we got to run this back. Junior year's
Yeah.
coming up, so August or so, I'm swimming for I guess about 2.5 weeks, and like I just don't feel right in the water. Like, I hopped out of practice one day. I was like, I just don't feel right. I called my mom and my dad. I'm like, maybe I should get my levels checked. And so we get them checked. And so the range is supposed to be within 8 to 10 is like a good range. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like a 4.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's not a good range.
No, no. And when they took my medication range in the hospital um, in March, that's it was like a 3.5. So we weren't super far off from.
Wow, and you had titrated up over the summer, right?
Yeah.
On this medication. Wow, that's a little disarming.
So
And
yeah.
but I just want to point out for anyone listening too, because it's such a good call, like that you said I need to get my medication levels checked. That's something I think that people with epilepsy, we don't generally know that that's a thing to go to if we're feeling kind of off, is getting those checked. So it's really impressive that you're like, yeah, I need to, make sure this happens. I'm serious. I'm
Yeah.
serious. This is something I didn't learn until like, I don't know, a year ago. So it's just, you're ahead of the game, man. You're
Yeah.
doing good.
No, I would definitely say like if you I usually get them well during that time frame after the seizure, it was probably maybe like once every month or so. And then now I feel like I get it maybe like once every 3 months, hopefully moving to like maybe once every 6 months, like just to make sure everything's, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's smart to just, even if you, if it's a great point, just to stay on top of it regularly.
Yeah.
So what did they decide to do when they realized that medication levels were still so low?
I myself had to make the decision because I was like, I can't keep pushing my body to do this if it's gonna keep pushing back against me. Like what we
Mm.
realized is like the level of activity made my body kind of metabolize the medication a lot faster than it's supposed to. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and so I hopped out of the practice, just like kind of crying to my coach. I'm like, I can't do this. He goes, "You're probably just nervous about the warm up." I'm like, "No, like I can't, I can't do this."
Yeah,
And I'm like in the like the locker room, just like crying because like all
totally.
this work and effort that I put in for over the summer to get ready for back to school, like
Yeah,
I felt like it was for nothing.
totally. That
Yeah,
makes complete sense. I
yeah,
don't blame you. Like, and, but also, like, I just so respect the fact that you were like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, honoring your body's new limits,
yeah,
which is, I think that's so hard to do. And like, one of the strongest things a person can do is walk away from something they love to take care of themselves. And I
yeah.
think that's just very, very impressive.
Like
And I
it was
admire you
just
so much. How did that feel though? Because that had to be quite a moment for you to walk away from being on the swim team at USC. And what was that just sort of like, what, like, walk us through like kind of your mindset during that time.
I mean, like it was just like after talked to my coach. I'm in the locker room. Like I called my mom on the phone. She's crying because she already knows what I'm probably about to say, and then
Mhm.
like she calls my dad. He's upset. He doesn't really like get super emotional, but like
Yeah.
he was crying. It was really really difficult, and so like after practice, I was like, can I like have a meeting with you guys? I was like, I'm sorry, like I can't do this anymore. Like it's just I don't want to have to keep doing all these medication changes, and it's just so frustrating. So I'm like I'm just gonna have to you know pull myself back from this.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's just, it's truly so courageous. It really is.
Yeah, and
Um, Go ahead.
I was just so upset because I was like, the one thing that I told myself is I wasn't gonna let epilepsy take anything away from me because it had already taken a lot of things away from me already. I was like, I just can't let it take away swim. Like I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that. It's not. It's not fair.
No, it's not. It's not at all. And it's just, it's a truly heartbreaking moment. And I know I keep trying to say like how much I admire you, and I do, but I am not trying to sugarcoat that moment at all, because it's had to be devastating. And it's so hard and frustrating when epilepsy does take things from us that we can't do anymore. Um, and I think that's one of the lifelong things that we deal with living with epilepsy. It's just, whether it's, staying out too late or driving a car or whatever it may be for anyone. There's things that we're like, oh, I know what's stopping me, and that sucks. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, just fucking sucks.
Yeah, like it's I don't have any control over it, and it's like yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Which is
It's
so hard to
frustrating.
it's so frustrating. It's like we don't have control of it, but we keep trying to get control over it with different medications that keep fucking us up. And then we have to keep trying new medications, and it's just like this really fun cycle. So, yeah, it's a lot. But
Yeah,
but you pivoted
I
and
did
did not,
pivot.
yeah, you did not let epilepsy take swimming away from you.
No, no. I was talking to my one friend, and she's like, you should think about joining club swim. I was like, oh, and she goes, oh yeah, like I have a friend on there. She swims. It's 4 hours a week compared to the 24 hours that you were doing. There's like no
Yeah.
real coach. It's just run by, you know, a student. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out.
Wait,
And
can we pause for a second?
yeah,
Four
sorry.
hours versus 24? You were swimming 24 hours. Oh my gosh, that's no wonder your body was like just burning through all that medication. That's
It's yeah,
crazy. I mean, I say this with just admiration for anyone doing anything. Like that's just a lot. But yeah, four,
yeah,
little more maybe attainable. Yeah.
yeah. I would say so. Yeah.
So were you excited about joining club? Were you just kind of like, I guess, or were you just trying to figure it all out?
I mean, at first I was like, I don't care. Like, my one thing in life just was pulled out from underneath of me. Like,
Mm,
I don't know if I want to get back into that again, just in case something
yeah.
else happens. But, talked to it with my parents and they're like, you should give it a shot. And so showed up to a practice and they were playing sharks and minnows.
Hell yes, I could do that.
And it just caught me like so off guard. I was
I
like,
bet.
it is the second week of school and I'm already doing like 7,000 yards or something like that. And they're over here playing like sharks and minnows.
So it's a little different pace.
And I was
Then,
like,
yeah.
all right, this might be my crew.
Yeah, tell me about the crew.
It's pretty cool. It's a mix of people, like swim in, high school or like some people who were on different other teams and also had to retire. Um, it's just like this huge mix of people and they're just all like super awesome and understanding. And it was just like such a welcoming environment. Like I felt like I was doing, the summer swim that I loved to do when I was, younger back in the day. Like it just felt like I didn't have to worry about, epilepsy as much because I know this wasn't going to take a huge strain on my body, but I'm still able to keep doing the thing that I love doing,
Mm,
just in a different way.
totally. That's amazing. Okay, so you figured out how to keep incorporating swim into your life, which is absolutely amazing. But then like also the thing we haven't talked about is how like what is it like being in college with epilepsy? And all of the fun medication, side effects. Because I wasn't diagnosed until my 30s. So like I didn't have to do college or school with epilepsy. And I always say like I don't think I could. So I'm just so curious like what this has been like for you. And if
I
there's
mean,
anything you'd recommend for anyone else too. Sorry, I got so
no,
excited.
you're all
Okay.
good. You're all good.
Okay.
It's definitely difficult. I think, sometimes like I'll be working on an assignment, kind of forget about it, and then, look at my to-do list and I'm like, oh shoot, I need to get this done like ASAP. And then I'll start working on it. And then I'll start working on something else. And then it's just kind of like, I guess I'll like forget about the assignment. And then I, I think like the two main things that you have to do if you're a student in college, or maybe like even high school, like first reach out to a neurologist and get a letter saying like, "Hey, this kid's got epilepsy," and then
We need proof. Just have the fucking proof, right? Yeah.
yeah.
I hear it.
So like I'm registered with student disabilities, which means they are able to reach out to my professors and let them know like, hey, he's registered with us. You don't have to. They don't tell the professor that what you have, so you don't have to
Mm.
tell everybody in the whole world that you have epilepsy. But get the letter from student disability. They're able to send it to your professor, and so for me, I have like extended time on tests and I can reach out to professors for like extended time on assignments And I feel like if you're able to speak with your professors and your teachers and just kind of like let them know, like, hey, sometimes I'm gonna have to turn things in late, or like, I don't know, just really
Yeah.
communicate is key.
Well, I think that's huge. I think like both those points are really wonderful because the first one is you make sure like legally the school has your back, right? Like you go to the disabilities office, make sure that it's on record. And then making that personal connection with your professor, I feel like is really brilliant because it's like as I'm registered, as you maybe got a note, but like these are things that help me, and giving like the heads up, I think is really smart. Just from like because from a teacher or student point of view, because then when like you do ask for that, it's not a surprise. You know, there's that whole thing that some curmudgeony professors get, and they're like, "You're faking it," and it's like, okay, no, like fuck off, like so it's like you've got everything covered, right? It's like you're being proactive. I think those are huge things to kind of just help figure out, how you can be most successful. And do you find the extended time is helpful for you?
Yeah, I would definitely say extending time is helpful for me because, I'm just able to ask for help, if I need it, and then, ask, I guess, like classmates for help, understanding assignments. Because I definitely feel like there's a bit of a processing thing with epilepsy where it takes a little bit for you to kind of understand things or, kind of focus in on things, especially like
Totally.
medication side effects and everything.
Totally. Because those medications, their job is to slow our brain down because seizure is and uh fucking can't find the words, of course. Uh thanks to thanks to
Firing?
medication side effects. Yeah, it's synapses firing too fast,
Yeah.
right? So like the whole goal of the medication is to slow your brain down, which it hopefully does for seizures, but then it does like in other aspects of your life. Like in conversation or maybe in a lecture or and yet there is like a processing um issue that I feel like a lot of people with epilepsy have talk about. And I know I definitely, because I always say, I lived 32 years without epilepsy. And so I can tell you that, in my experience, like those 32 years, I did not have as much trouble processing. And then there's just like kind of learning how to um, deal with that too and accommodate yourself. Okay, so how do you go about telling people in your life, whether it's a classmate or friend, about your epilepsy?
I feel like I'm pretty open with it. I feel like because I mean, A, for safety reasons, you need to kind of let them know, hey, I've got epilepsy. Here's what you might have to do. I mean, that's not like you don't just like walk up to someone in your class and be like, I have epilepsy. Here's what you need to do. They're like, geez, all right.
I mean, you can. It's just not your style. It's just fine. Yeah. So, but like, how do you start that conversation? Because I feel like sometimes that can be the hardest part.
It's sometimes like make a joke out of it. I feel like that's because my whole thing is like I'm all about like humor and stuff like that. Like sometimes
Same. Yeah.
sometimes I'll make I don't know like like seizure jokes and everybody around me is like, oh my god, why are you saying that? I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
You're like, I'm allowed to because I have them. So like, I get the right to do that. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, so like I had to tell my roommates, because I am living with them for basically 24/7 while I'm here. So I'm just got to be like, hey, just let you know, I have epilepsy, and everybody. I feel like if you when you tell people about it, they're pretty understanding. I
Hmm.
don't think I really had anybody be like, okay, and
Why do I care? Yeah, that's good. That's good. You've surrounded yourself with people who, have empathy and compassion. And, but I think, like, do you also tell them what to do if you have a seizure?
I just say call 911. I mean, I feel like that's. I know I'm not in the, you know, I know I'm not able to tell them anything because I'm actively seizing, but
Right.
it's usually somebody call 911 and then somebody else call either my mom or my dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Smart. I love it. Like, just the emergency contacts, literally, all of
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah,
No, and I think that's smart. I think it helps other people too, because people do want to help and they do want to know. So I think there's a lot of anxiety around epilepsy, whether it's for even from people like who are like around you, like, what do I do if you have a seizure? And it's almost like sometimes just looking at it like, okay, I'm just going to help you guys out, let you know, here's the game plan. Um, and what I've learned, and I'm just going to, as uh, someone who's had this a little bit longer than you, I have to repeat those instructions because people do forget. And that's not
yeah.
their fault. It's no one's fault for forgetting. But then, like, I've had a seizure and, like, they haven't done the thing we went over. And then I'm like, in retrospect, like, okay, that makes sense because if you only go over something once, not everyone's going to remember. There's no quiz on it later. Well, the quiz is the seizure, but we don't need it. It's a pop quiz. You never know when it's coming. But I love that you embrace it with humor. Obviously, I'm partial to that. But I think again, it just makes your close circle, just a little more. It makes everyone a little more at ease.
Yeah.
Which makes things more palatable and then attainable, in my opinion, anyway.
My friends got me a sweatshirt that says, "It's not a seizure. I'm just buffering."
That's amazing. Those are good friends.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
ones that can joke about you with it. I think those are good friends too.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Tommy, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you 3 questions that have nothing to do with what we've been talking about.
Okay.
And that's I know, it sounds very nerve-wracking. Don't worry. They're not scary. Number 1, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
You're a swimmer, so obviously I should have guessed that one. Number 2, if let's say like money and time are no issue, and you have the ability to spend a month, like live for a month in one place, where would you pick?
I would say Rome. I feel like that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've always kind of wanted to go to Europe. I feel like
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool.
totally. Absolutely. Rome is so beautiful. I mean, I've heard, I've never been, but one day. And number 3, what does it mean to you to be a friend?
Good question. I don't know. I've never thought of that before.
It's okay. Take your time.
A friend is somebody who's always there for you, is able to support you through your ups and downs.
Totally.
That's
Yeah. No, those are huge things though, because like just always there for you. Good day, bad day. Good
yeah.
moments, bad moments. I love it. I think that's beautiful. Well, Tommy, thank you so much for having this conversation with me, for recording this episode. I'm so excited for people to hear it. And I just really appreciate you sharing, just your very courageous and vulnerable story.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be able to speak out a little bit more about, having epilepsy in my story.
Yeah. Well, every time, someone shares their story, it's helping another person share theirs. So
Yeah.
thank you.